A very good evening and thank you for joining us in this news broadcast. First things first, let's look at the day's highlights. Tonight, the cries on costs and conditions in state quarantine facilities.
All of these people, either they have lost their jobs without any pay, they are students, or they didn't have a job at all.
Escapees are arrested outside Nairobi as police are put on the spot for acting illegally and having porous operations.
So even if you make an attempt to escape from the quarantine facility, remember, a big brother is watching.
To the best of my knowledge, there is no legal framework for this kind of action.
And wreaths laid to mark a painful end. Government calls off search for 17 missing people as the pain of the Chesagon landslide stings.
Kenya Defence Force walijoin na wakakuwa wale siku ile na pia jana wameshinda hapa kuendelea kutafuta na matumaini ni kama imedidimia kabisa.
Raging waters are diving over dams, roads are turning into fierce rivers and lives are at risk. Also tonight, photo shooting themselves in the foot. Nakuru youth taken into forced quarantine.
Photographing themselves without masks. They were mixing and mingling without masks.
Same verdict for Baringo revelers. Plus, young, gifted and has a desire to keep the coronavirus disease at bay. The Standard 3 innovator from Bungoma. "42 days since the first coronavirus case was reported in the country, a lot of warnings, restrictions, and most importantly, the call to stay safe and information on how to do that. There are also issues on how the crisis is being managed locally. Now, the World Health Organization says the COVID-19 crisis is not ending anytime soon, with many countries still in the early stages of the fight. It's probably news you didn't want to hear, but the good news is that some states have started to ease restrictions slowly. But let's have a quick look at the global statistics at the moment. These are the very latest figures. The number of the global view confirmed cases, we have 2,665,122. Reported deaths globally, we're looking at 186,131, and those who have recovered is 727,170. Now, the Kenyan case, we've got so far confirmed cases 320. Reported deaths stand at 14, and those who have recovered, the figure stands at 89. So those are the current figure with sources from the Ministry of Health and also sources from Johns Hopkins University for the global view. Thank you so much for joining us in this broadcast. My name is Dennis Okari, and our sign language interpreter tonight is David Agondoa. And tonight, the police are on the spot once again. They have been acting illegally as they delivered those found flouting COVID-19 measures into forced quarantine. This is according to the Judiciary Registrar who was talking about the issues that the police have been engaging in. However, the government maintains that it is enforcing the initiative under the World Health Organization guidelines. Further, one of the people who escaped quarantine facility in Nairobi has been arrested in Kericho. Yet, he is not an essential service provider. How he got out of KMTC and how he got past the border barrier raises questions on how effective and uncompromised the police are at a time when they are playing a key role in keeping law and order. NTV's Seth Olale addresses this as well as the fundamental concern of the conditions at the state quarantine facilities.
The conditions at a number of government quarantine facilities have been the subject of complaints and frustrations. Due to crowding and unavailability of protective materials such as face masks and sanitizers has made them a high risk for possible and rapid COVID-19 infection.
Even if you are sick, you can never be taken to hospital for medical checkup. Why? Because you are being treated as a slave.
Plan is not to try and criminalize the quarantine process. One, we have tried to improve the conditions in the quarantine facilities, and now with the availability of the test kits, as soon as you arrive within the quarantine facility, is to fast track the process of testing you. For those who test negative, of course, they are quickly released and advised to continue self-quarantine at home.
Being quarantined is neither a detention nor a punishment. Quarantine is meant to serve the greater public good in ensuring that we protect our country. We therefore must urge you, fellow Kenyans, to join us in ensuring that we do not stigmatize those who are sent to quarantine facilities and even those who have recovered from this disease.
One major concern has been the cost of accommodation at the facilities, which has been pegged at 2,000 shillings a day. Many of those who have been subjected to this claim they cannot afford the fee, which is at least 28,000 for the mandatory 14 days, amid the feeling that the cost is not worth the services they are receiving. Some have been hit with bills of up to 60,000 shillings for their stay and are hoping the state can step in, a cry that has yet to bear fruit. An everyday passing day, they say, is an additional hole punched in their already perforated pockets. This is among the reasons that some have cited when they took the risk of escaping the facilities. This points to a lapse in security, specifically in the police service. On Wednesday, 2 people who escaped from KMTC Nairobi were arrested in Roysambu, and now another one has been arrested in Litein, Kericho County.
We called in the medical team from Kericho and Kapkatet. So they went for this gentleman, and now he was, after the arrest, he was taken back to Kapkatet MTC.
That he crossed the Nairobi metropolitan area border without being an essential service provider once again raised the concerns on the effectiveness of the security agencies.
So even if you make an attempt to escape from the quarantine facility, remember, Big Brother is watching and will soon catch up with you.
Judiciary Chief Registrar has stamped the forced quarantine of those arrested for breaking curfew regulations as illegal.
To the best of my knowledge, there is no legal framework for this kind of action. And it's not an issue that we've had an opportunity to discuss at the NCAJ, although I had an informal discussion with the DPP today.
Today is the 42nd day since the government officially launched its response towards the coronavirus pandemic. Authorities say that some of the measures put in place that include travel restrictions as well as curfew are bearing fruit. But this is not to say that the country is out of danger. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi.
Well, looks like we're dealing with an enforcement issue there, and we'll watch and see and report on how this pans out. But away from the COVID-19 story, we're going to get back to many more stories around this global pandemic. But let's also go now to another disaster where the government has officially called off the search for missing persons following the Chesagon landslide that killed 18 Kenyans. On this day, there was a brief ceremony at the landslide site, and the government regretting the unfortunate deaths in that particular landslide. Lois Ongoi with that report that brings into conclusion NTV's 1 week coverage of the Chesagon landslide.
The search, rescue and recovery of persons at the Chesagon landslide has been called off. The operation lasted 5 days. 18 bodies have been recovered, 17 others are missing.
Tumechambua hii moto kabisa on Wednesday the whole day. Na hata baadaye tukadiscover kwamba hatukuhitaji hizo excavators, maana hakuna mahali zingepitia, kila mahali ilikuwa imejaa matope tu. Kwa tukakuwa joined na jeshi, Kenya Defence Force walijoin na wakakuwa wale siku ile na pia jana wameshinda hapa kuendelea kutafuta, na matumaini ni kama imedidimia kabisa.
Later, a brief prayer ceremony and laying of wreaths at the landslide area turned mass grave for at least 18 people.
Marks the symbolic laying of these wreaths marks the end of the official search, rescue and recovery exercise of the government of the Republic of Kenya. We still want to send our heartfelt condolences to the families, friends and relatives of these departed souls.
Those who survived the landslide continue to camp in schools. Aid is slowly streaming in as the government is challenged to resettle them to safer grounds.
On behalf of our Army Commander, to register his appreciation and more so his condolences for those bereaved families and all that are the survivors. And as a way of a gesture, he kindly donated the foodstuffs and the non-foodstuffs that are in front of us.
Because you know these are the same people who are moved from the upper side to be told to go to the lower side, putting pressure on this government. Now it is time for government to find long-term and permanent solution to the problem that the people of this area are facing.
The landslide destroyed infrastructure, which had further complicated the search and rescue operation for victims that has now come to an end. Chesagon Police Post and its government stores were not spared either.
I'm not likely to tell you what kind of stores they are, but we have stores underneath the ground that must be recovered.
Even as the search for the missing persons following the Chesagon landslide comes to an end, the government says it will continue being here until life is restored into normalcy for all those affected by the Chesagon landslide. Lois Wangoi, NTV, in the county of Elgeyo Marakwet.
Residents living downstream River Tana have been advised to move to higher ground as water levels at the Seven Forks dams in Embu have risen substantially and have started discharging excess water. Consequently, the overflow is expected to cause massive flooding and affect people living in Garissa, Hola and Garsen.
The government is warning over a looming disaster around the Seven Forks dams in Embu. If this picture does not make things clear, experts have predicted that the chain of dams on the Upper Tana River Basin, Masinga, Kamburu, Gitaru, Kindaruma and Kiambere have seen a drastic rise in water levels which have all exceeded spilling levels. A team of senior government officers led by the Eastern Regional Security Committee who are on a fact-finding mission said the 5 dams that regulate the river's flow in the Seven Forks system have been full since last week. The dams are no longer retaining any water from the western Mount Kenya and Aberdare catchments of the River Tana. Spillage could last months because main areas around the dam continue to experience heavy rainfall and flooding, filling up the dam. Depending on how furious the water runs downstream, devastation could occur, hence the warning by government for residents to start moving away from the banks of Tana River and other rivers that could flood.
Nimeongea na Regional Commissioner upande wa Coast ili kuwaeleza kwamba kuna maji mengi ambayo yanatoka upande huu yakielekea nyanda za chini, na tumearifiwa kwamba watu wa Tana River, sehemu za Garissa wanaelezwa. Watu wa Warma wametuhakikishia na tuko na wao hapa kwamba wanaendelea kupeana habari kuhusu maji kwa sababu kila asubuhi wanapima levels ya maji.
The Met Department has urged the public not to ignore updates on the rain patterns, saying most parts are currently receiving long rains which will pour into May. Rozongoi, NTV.
Now, from the trail of destruction caused by the flood waters submerging many places in the country to the global pandemic, that's coronavirus, and 42 days into the country's battle with COVID-19, and hand washing remains the most effective way of preventing the spread of the disease. In Bungoma County, a young boy and his father are taking this advice to heart and have invented a hands-free washing station that they believe is playing a big part in keeping their family safe.
At the beginning, it was tethered to a tree, this attempt by a young boy to provide homegrown solutions to the COVID-19 disease and its prevention, a clean, accessible hand-washing station.
Tulikuwa tumekaa na yeye tukiwatch TV. Kisha akawa ananiuliza kwamba baba, mbona tusitengenezee kitu yetu yenye tunaweza kuwa tunatumia kunawa mikono ambayo haiwezi kukuswa na mkono na miguu.
A few adjustments here and there, and this family has one of the most effective homemade hand wash stations in the county of Bungoma. This station is hands-free, and with just a press of the foot pedal, a user is able to dispense soap and clean water. The station has a basin and a wastewater disposal system. It is a culmination of a dream and a gift that the young boy has had.
Nichukua mbao za baba na nikatengeneza na nikafika pale nikashinda na baba akanisaidia tukamaliza.
Tuma kwa duka alafu akarudi akaniambia, "Gai, mama wanatangaza kwa radio kuna corona." Alafu watu wamechukua mtungi wanatoboa na msumari. Alafu wananawa, alafu tena mtu mwingine akikuja anashika msumari tena anatoa ananawa tena anarudisha. Sasa hapo hivyo Subaru tu anashika hiyo magonjwa tena. Sasa akasema si tutatengeneza yetu na itakuwa hivyo.
And as they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Stephen is only following in the steps of his carpenter father. For now, though, he can't do the heavy lifting when it comes to actualizing his ideas, so his father does that for him.
Unajua mtoto akianza kufanya kitu fulani mpaka umpe himizo uangalie venye anaendelea. Mimi ni mtu mimi na survive na talents. Sasa singependa ni uwe mtoto kama amejepuka na talanta fulani yenye inamsaidia katika maisha yake. Huenda maybe hata asifanikiwe kwa elimu venye anatarajia, lakini at least that talent can maybe help him in future. Inamsaidia, inaweza manipulate na imsaidie kwa njia fulani ama nyingine.
This costs just about 3,000 shillings only, a paltry sum compared to what his county used to acquire jerrycans only for the same purpose. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
From that great story of a young boy, a standard 3 boy using his mind creatively, to some whom you'll argue are not. In Nakuru and Baringo counties, 33 people have been placed under forced quarantine for violating COVID-19 laws. Among them, a group of 21 youth in Nakuru who were arrested after they were caught gathered at a photo shoot where they were recording explicit content, while those in Baringo included some civil servants found at a bar in Marigat. Bridget Ngana with the details.
What was meant to be an afternoon of lights, camera action for the group of 21 youth in Nakuru's Milimani area is now going to be several nights in mandatory quarantine after they violated the Public Health Act against public gathering as a measure to contain COVID-19.
These boys and girls did not have masks. As you see them, they do not have masks. They were photographing themselves without masks. They were mixing and mingling without masks, and therefore they were going against the public health social distance directive.
This was not just any photo shoot. Police say, according to the images retrieved from the cameras the youngsters were using, they were recording pornographic content.
They have a camera man with them who is taking them photos in various styles depicting nakedness and showing some indecency.
They are now in isolation at the Kenya Medical Training College in Nakuru for the next 14 days, after which they may be prosecuted. At the same time, 12 people, among them civil servants, were arrested at a bar in Marigat, Baringo County, during the curfew. The 12 have since been quarantined at the KMTC Kabarnet Isolation Center as part of measures to curb the spread of COVID-19. Bridget Ngana, NTV.
Shot at point-blank range for identifying a thief. That was the unfortunate way a university student faced his death in Umoja 2 in Nairobi. According to police, the rise in crime in the area could be linked to the releasing of prisoners in a bid to avoid overcrowding and spreading of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The scene of the crime, Padam Hospital, where 24-year-old Rogers Opio was on his way to buy medicine for his mother when he was killed.
Wenda kwa chemistry akakabia kiasi ikashughulika kama nikimbie chini niende kuangalia ni nini imefanya amechelewa. Saa inafika saa 1 ya kafi wako wapi. Kufika nakuta ameshaanguswa chini. Ati ni waizi walikuja na motorbike wawili.
From the occurrence book at Kamkunji Sub-County Buruburu Police Station, the two armed men posed as customers at the hospital before pulling out guns and robbing those on the premises. Rogers, unfortunately for his case, recognized them when he questioned their act. One of the robbers shot him in the neck in retaliation. Buruburu OCPD Adamson Bungei links the rise in crime in the area to the COVID-19 pandemic.
I want to put it in record that we are in pursuit of these young men, which of course they have influxed the market after they were released, most of them from the prison during the decongestion process. It's quite unfortunate that they are going back to the previous business, but we are there for them to ensure that they will not interfere or rather disturb innocent Kenyans.
Earlier this month, Chief Justice David Maraga ordered the release of a number of petty offenders to help in decongestion of prisons in a bid to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Following the armed robbery, police recovered a revolver pistol and 4 rounds of ammunition after a raid at Umoja Estate. Rogers' body had been moved to Mama Lucy Kibaki mortuary, awaiting a post-mortem. Anita Nkonge, NTV.
Well, it's a very sad story. Let's just hope that he finds justice and that family finds the justice that they will be looking for. It's 19 minutes past the hour. Time for a short break. I'll be back with more other stories.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white clothes, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
Birthday party!
Birthday party! Birthday party! Birthday party! Are we not invited?
We have gifts!
Malaria!
Mommy, best!
Rat!
Oh, die!
Party!
Compared to Northway Spray, Mortein Doom Power Guard kills disease-causing pests instantly. Mortein Doom Power Guard.
Do your gums hurt? Yeah. Does your toothpaste contain sage, eucalyptus, myrrh, chamomile? All that in one toothpaste? Yes, try Colgate Herbal. Colgate Herbal contains nature's best herbs and Colgate's fluoride technology to give you strong teeth and healthy gums.
Ah, Colgate Herbal.
Let's go. Colgate Herbal for strong teeth and healthy gums naturally.
Have you shared your Bongo points with someone who needs them? Remember to help a friend or anyone in need to buy food using your Bongo points. Stay at home, but still stay together with your loved ones and friends using Bongo points. Share your story or video of how you've helped a fellow Kenyan to our FB page NTV Kenya, Twitter page at NTV Kenya, Instagram at NTV Kenya, SMS 20686 or our WhatsApp number 0745 925 002.
John suffers from indigestion. His twin James suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Oya ni aje, mimi Jonte Fresh. Mimi ndio nimetambulika hii Gikomba yote sekta ya manguo. Jumio transform nguo ordinary za mtush zenye ziuka mna hii harufu ya bail into the freshest Iggy Kosh yote. Siri ni hii Ariel mpya ya pink. Na kushow mtush zinang'ara kung'ara kushinda kamera. So clean, so fresh. Ma customer unaisana na hii story. Ninatumia Ariel touch of down mpya tu.
It has been described as a silent killer. What exactly is pulmonary embolism?
This is a situation when a blood clot jumps into the lungs.
I had 2 clots and a pulmonary embolism that was suspected but could not be confirmed.
Pain in the calf, swelling of one leg, pain when breathing in, If you have that, go to the hospital.
We're talking about pulmonary embolism, and you can abbreviate it to PE.
Ensure you go to the hospital. Don't assume anything.
Carry on hand sanitizers and face masks. Protect yourself against COVID-19. We have a series of products to keep you safe during this COVID-19 pandemic. Contact us on 0703 222 000.
In these uncertain times, as we navigate the new normal, we hope that this note finds you and your family safe. We are indeed living in an increasingly challenging time, a time of disruption and a global lockdown, a disruption that has brought grief to some, financial difficulties to so many of us, and enormous changes to life as we know it. Now, though self-isolation may at times be hard, many people are discovering that it presents an opportunity for all of us to slow down, to pause and reflect. Many will feel a painful sense of separation from their loved ones, but we know that deep down that is the right thing to do. We should take comfort that while we may have more still to endure, better days will return. And even as we navigate this new normal, your favorite show, The Trend, promises you to continue providing a huge variety of splendid entertainment full of iconic acts, Skype interviews with our local entertainment industry heroes. And we continuously promise to bring you nothing but the best. You, our viewer, we want to provide a steady guide of entertainment as we face the future. Staying in is the new going out. Stay home and stay safe. Make sure that you tune to The Trend every Friday right here on NTV.
Welcome back. Now, the tax amendment bill has been dubbed as a double-edged sword that offers relief on one hand, but will see the country pay for it on the other. Economists now argue that other more pressing issues, such as rent, should have been addressed first in order to ease the pressure of layoffs that have been tormenting Kenyans.
Good evening, everybody.
If President Uhuru Kenyatta ratifies the 2020 tax amendment bill, employees are set to smile a little bit when they get their pay slips. Once the bill is assented to law, a large section of SMEs will heave a sigh of relief with the relaxation of the turnover tax. But in hindsight, Wananchi will continue digging deeper into the pocket as inflation continues increasing the cost of basic food items. Economists argue that despite the bill being projected as a win due to the pay cuts and the 2% drop in VAT, the government might just be giving from one hand and taking it back using the other.
If you think about the life of a person, for example, who's earning about 40,000 shillings a month, the tax relief that you'd get from the pay aspect would be about 2,600 shillings. That fellow possibly has faced a salary cut at work. When he goes home, he'll have to pay extra VAT on the gas that he's using to cook. So you find net, the difference is not as significant as you'd like to imagine.
The 30% electricity rebate awarded to manufacturers in January 2019 was scrapped off. Gishinga says the government tried managing the cost of living by overturning proposals to increase basic commodities such as bread and milk, but missed out on the key things the Mwananchi is crying out for during this pandemic, such as rent.
I didn't see the big, heavy-hitting things. If you look at markets such as South Africa, they've had 3 months moratoriums on rent payments. If you look at markets like New York City, they've had a 3-month moratorium on rent payment. If you look at things around bank loans.
The drop in VAT is one whose impact the government will feel, as foreseen by some of the members of the August House before.
By this particular proposal, Honorable Speaker, we are going to lose revenues to the tune of 49.5 billion shillings in 1 quarter.
This crisis is creating an opportunity to be able to rethink our entire tax code. We've never really had a tax policy in Kenya. What we try and do is look for bits and pieces here and there to raise money.
The Treasury is set to get a headache in sealing the shortfalls in revenue collection targets, which continue to widen the budget deficit and which might see the government borrowing more externally. Lillian Kiarie, NTV.
Back to COVID-19, and the Kenya School of Government in Nairobi has been closed as a quarantine facility after all those who were quarantined there tested negative after the 2 required tests. There are quite some good news and good stories coming from the place. But there are public health workers who were disinfecting the facility today for the second time.
Public health officials preparing to fumigate the Kenya School of Government premises and rooms, marking the end of the quarantine stay for 140 people. Perhaps the longest overlay ever for those who had to undergo mandatory quarantine here soon after landing at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Dr. Philip Tendet, who was in charge here, giving a reflective report.
Most of the times the guests were allowed to walk around the big space around, walk into the field. There's a big football field there, they could walk around, take walks.
4 people from this facility were confirmed positive and subsequently taken to different hospitals. 2 have fully recovered. The officials here were also tested for COVID-19 and the results were negative.
Before we hand it back to the Kenya School of Government and allow for the good use of the public again, we want to make sure that it is well disinfected. We will not have any more risks to any other persons who will come here.
The rooms of the 4 were marked. All their belongings were still in the room. The fumigators made sure every corner of the room was safe. Vehicle-mounted fogging machine was also used to disinfect the place. Cases of misconduct were also reported at the facility, which led to the Minister of Health extending the quarantine period. 4 people were arrested for misconduct and failure to comply with the guidelines.
Some of the guests managed to sneak in with their alcohol and were really misbehaving after using it. The police came in, helped us, and we restored the discipline.
More closures of quarantine centers will hopefully be the case across the country in the weeks to come, but not just yet, and only if everybody does their part to help contain the disease. Halima Gongo, NTV.
Well, it's good news for those who left the facility. And now to a story that kicked off a storm on social media. The Nigerian government has asked the DCI to hold the body of the late John Apiojoi, husband to musician Ruth Matete, until they give consent for the burial. This comes after the autopsy results indicated that the deceased died due to complications brought about by the extent of his burns, which was 60% degrees. This in turn led to lack of sufficient body minerals, which further affected other organs in his body. This comes as a reprieve for Ruth Matete, who had been taken in for questioning for hours on end by the Director of Criminal Investigations on allegations of murdering her husband. John was burned on 30th of March as a result of a gas explosion in their home and was taken to Shalom Hospital.
Confirmed that it's true that he died because of burns. We look at the burns, the extents were severe. They were mixed degree burns, which were estimated at 60%. So what killed him was the complications which came as a result of the burns.
Well, before we go for a break, just a quick update on what's happening on our roads. And this is obviously because of the heavy rains that have pounded many counties and cut off so many roads. And the Kenya National Highways Authority has released an advisory on an emergency temporary closure of Narok-Mai Mahiu Road due to a washout. And I'm just going to read quickly this statement. They say due to the ongoing heavy rains, approaches to Siapei Bridge, approximately 17 kilometers from Narok towards Mai Mahiu, have been severely undermined by floodwater, hence posing danger to motorists. The affected bridge is next to Masai Mara Technical Training Institute, and according to KENHA, they intend to close the road for urgent restoration works. I think and I believe they have already begun that, because they said from 8 p.m. they're already working on it. So motorists planning to use Narok-Mai Mahiu route are therefore advised to seek alternative routes as they undertake those restoration works for the next couple of days, and the team is working expeditiously to restore traffic on that very important section. That's the latest update from the Kenya National Highways Authority. We take a break. I'll be back with more other stories.
The risk of illness causing germs is increasing. It is believed that the coronavirus can remain on surfaces in your home for up to 9 days. Touching infected surfaces is one of the ways in which germs spread. Regularly disinfect your floors, countertops, and kitchen surfaces with bleach, and use an effective toilet cleaner inside and outside your toilet bowl. This message is brought to you by Medifacts, JIC, and Harpic.
Niaje wa Kenya. Hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water. Apply a small amount of soap. Rub palms together. Rub fingers and thumbs and the bits in between. Rub nails on palms. Rub the back of each hand. Rinse with clean running water and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
Dettol's main objective is to help children protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold?
No!
They are spread through germs on your hands. Your hands collect germs that causes diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands regularly with Dettol soap that gives the best germ protection ever against many illness-causing germs.
Wash, wash, wash your hands. What you have to do is bath, bath, bath yourself. Dettol soap every day. Wash, wash, wash your hands.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Melissa? Mom, it's Dad's birthday today. I'm giving him a party just like he gives me.
Nothing makes a mother more proud than seeing her child growing up. But I know that as she learns to care for others, she'll face even more germs and the risk of illnesses.
That's why you need strong Dettol protection. Just 1 cup of Dettol protects your home and family from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
In association with KCB Internet Banking.
Time now for business. Tullow Oil has entered into a deal with Total Uganda to sell its entire stake in the jointly held oil fields in a sale that is estimated to be worth 61.5 billion shillings. Tullow, a British company that explores oil and gas in Africa, has suffered a series of technical difficulties and missed production targets, leading its chief executive to step down late last year. The company is also deep in debt and hoping to raise money from this sale to offset part of the $200 199 billion shillings debt. The sale is dependent on the two companies signing a final tax agreement with Ugandan authorities and a green light from Taalo's shareholders, and is expected to close in the second half of this year. Taalo, however, says this deal will not affect its Kenya operations in any way. The coronavirus pandemic is forcing airlines to either get creative or go out of business, as most countries suspend flights and restrict movement. Here in Kenya, we've seen national carrier Kenya Airways converting its passenger planes into cargo planes in order to remain in the sky. And now, the Pride of Africa has ventured into the production of face masks through its technical department using unused material in its stores. The initiative is part of the innovative sustainability solutions that repurposes items. The airline is targeting to produce over 1,000 face masks per day.
Able to satisfy the demand within Kenya Airways. Then we start producing also first of all for our local community here in Embakasi, and then for the wider public.
Retail supermarket chain Choppies Enterprises accounts will remain frozen after the High Court ruled in favor of the Kenya Revenue Authority in a tax dispute involving the two parties. Choppies had filed an application under a certificate of urgency seeking orders to unfreeze its accounts pending completion of the dispute. KRA argued that the retailer's accounts were frozen to recover taxes amounting to 173.4 million shillings. The taxman also accused the retailer of beginning the process of winding up its business in Kenya and selling off branches without informing the authority in spite of the ongoing tax disputes. Technology firm Microsoft has announced that it will start allowing users without an internet connection and those with low bandwidth connectivity to read chat messages on its remote working platform Teams. With internet connectivity posing a challenge to most users working remotely, the move is set to ease work and learning. The US-based company has also included a myriad of features on its products, such as reduced noise distractions to ensure users have better experiences. Microsoft joins a number of companies across the world which have had to modify their products to give consumers value as they navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, that's where we close business. We take a short break.
NTV Business News in association with KCB Internet Banking.
We can always talk about your account online whenever you like.
Register at your nearest branch for KCB Internet Banking today.
Take the following basic protective measures as guided by the WHO. Clean hands frequently with soap and water. Cover nose and mouth when coughing and sneezing with a tissue or flexed elbow. Avoid close contact with anyone with cold or flu-like symptoms. Seek medical care if you have fever, cough, and difficulty breathing. And avoid raw and uncooked animal products. Help the world put an end to the spread of respiratory diseases. Message brought to you by Dettrex Germ Protection Soap.
Discovered the world-famous Molfix and saw the difference. Let's see how absorbent Molfix is. Molfix, thanks to its ultra-absorbent particles, can keep more liquid than the other diaper brand, so you can use it comfortably all day long. All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. Panadol Extra, now with new Optizorb technology to fight multiple tough pains with 3 times more pain-relieving medicine in the first 30 minutes when you need it most. Seeing them support themselves makes any pain worth it. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
When you're facing stubborn stains, you're always in a fierce fight. Clean Soft kicks out stains. Kimateki.
For a better tomorrow, don't forget to do the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate every night.
Discovered the world-famous Smallfix and saw the difference. Let's see how absorbent Smallfix is. Smallfix, thanks to its ultra-absorbent particles, can keep more liquid than the other diaper brand, so you can use it comfortably all day long. All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Smallfix.
Maritime tips brought to you by Kenya Maritime Authority. Precautions for vessel and boat owners, operators, coxswains and passengers. Personal hygiene. Practice frequent hand hygiene, coughing and sneezing etiquette. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces on board the boats and vessels such as steering wheel, safety or guardrails and seats. Crew members, coxswains and passengers to regularly disinfect life jackets. Practice frequent hand washing with soap. Wear a mask on board a boat or vessel. Boat owners and operators to comply with government directives on movement restrictions within counties. Kenya Maritime Authority for safe and efficient water transport.
Welcome back. Now, Muslims in Kenya and around the world are set to begin the month of Ramadan this weekend, according to the Chief Qadi Sheikh Modar. He has announced that fasting ought to start on Saturday, going by the Muslim calendar, even though they were not able to sight the moon. However, a number of Muslim faithful will be starting the fast that will be historic, given the COVID-19 pandemic that will restrict prayers at the mosque.
Kesho, inshallah, siku ya Ijumaa itakuwa ni siku ya tarehe 30 ya Shaaban ya mwaka huu. Saumu ama mfungo wa Ramadhani utakuwa ni siku ya Jumamosi ambayo itakuwa ni tarehe 25 inshallah mwezi April. Leo ni Alhamisi, kesho Ijumaa ni 30. Jumamosi ndio itakuwa tarehe 1 ya Shaaban ya mwaka huu. Kwa hivyo Jumamosi ndio tutaanza kufunga hapa Kenya, na pia ndugu zetu wa Tanzania bara na Tanzania kisiwani pia wanaanza kufunga siku ya Jumamosi. Kwa hivyo tunawaombea Waislamu wote duniani na Wakenya wote kwa jumla na binadamu wote kwa jumla kila la kheri katika mwezi huu mtukufu wa Ramadhani. Tunawaomba wafanye majumbani kutii amri ya serikali na kutii amri ya rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya kama vile alivyosisitiza kabla na hivi karibuni.
Ramadan Mubarak to all the Muslim brothers and sisters in the country and around the world from NTV. Now, there is an ugly truth about learning from home. The out-of-classroom learning program being implemented through TV, radio, computer and the smartphone was introduced by the Ministry of Education to ensure continuity. But the reality on the ground is that most of the country's 17 million school children who lack access to these gadgets closed their books as soon as schools were shut in March. In your Daily Nation tomorrow, find out why majority of KCPE and KCSE candidates will be disadvantaged if exams are held in October and November as planned. Well, time now for a break, and sports news will be coming right after this. Stay with us.
Wajua wanasema food has memory, and those who nourish you are never forgotten.
Unakumbuka the auntie who made sure you shibat? Ule jamaa wa nyama, ule anakuwekea nyama poa ya choma. The dere, happy to share your takeaway. Na huyo mama wa chai, ule ana warm your lunch before you ata uliza. Your mama mboga, ule anakuongezea ata nyanya. Ule waiter kusava haraka. Na ule mandazi lady, ule anakuwekea ndao moja ya baadaye. Na your boda rider, ule jamaa kufikisha haraka. Now this is the time to let them know they are not forgotten. This is the time to make sure every table in Kenya has food on it. The points on your phone can be food in their home. When you sit with a plate of food today, pledge to stand for someone who has put food before you. Dial *126# to transfer your bonga points now so they can buy food and necessities at any outlet with a Lipa na M-Pesa till.
Safaricom is for you.
This week on The Trend, they have taken the internet by storm, and this week they'll be here to kill the show. And all the way from Nigeria, Niniola. The entertainment from their living room, Erosh, Muringi and Mutoria. On the decks, DJ E will be holding it down for us. All this and many more only on The Trend.
Arion hand sanitizers and face masks. Protect yourself against COVID-19. We have a series of products to keep you safe during this COVID-19 pandemic. Contact us on 0703 222 000.
Time now for sports. The Football Kenya Federation is staring at a possible sanction from the FIFA unless it is unless it does the unlikely, that is, pay former national team coach Adel Amrouche over 100 million shillings by midnight tonight. Amrouche was appointed Stars coach and let go within former FKF President Sam Nyamweya's tenure. The Algerian took his case all the way to the Court of Arbitration for Sport and won compensation for wrongful dismissal. The World Governing Body's extended deadline of 23rd April culminates today, with Sports Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed on record for saying that the government wouldn't pay for the federation's mistakes. A diversion of development funds or ban from the 2022 World Cup qualifiers looms for Kenyan football. Commonwealth Games bantamweight bronze medalist Douglas Maina passed away at his house in Donholm, Nairobi on Thursday following a long illness. The news was broken by the National Coordinator of Heroes and Heroines in Sports, the legendary sprinter Rose Tata Muya, who received the news from Maina's wife Wanjiru. Maina won bronze medals at the 1978 African Games in Algiers and at the Commonwealth Games in Edmonton at bantamweight. Maina was in the famous hit squad that won 2 gold, 2 silver and 3 bronze medals at the same games. Kenya also finished atop the boxing standings with 2 gold, 1 silver and 2 bronze medals at the 1978 Algiers African Games. Unconventional times call for unconventional measures. Sports people across the world have embraced this mantra, coming up with novel ways to maintain their fitness levels during the COVID-19 pandemic. From family workouts to street exercises, we look at the different ways athletes are keeping fit.
The best in the world have found creative ways to keep fit during the COVID-19 lockdown. Social media challenge
Kenyan international brothers Ayub Timbe and Musa Masika are donating care packages to residents of Kawangware and Kibera slums, while Finland-based Harambee Stars goalkeeper Arnold Origi has also been donating foodstuffs to residents in Eastlands. Harambee Stars captain Victor Wanyama, through his foundation, donated sanitizing kits to families residing in Mathare. Meanwhile, Wanyama's national teammates Michael Olunga and Francis Kahata have donated basic necessities, including clean water, to Nairobi's low-income areas. The absence of live sports as a result of COVID-19 has forced fans to seek alternative forms of entertainment. Football competitions in the country were indefinitely suspended in mid-March as the country attempts to flatten the coronavirus curve. Local fans tell us about their new weekend routines devoid of the beautiful game.
Siwezi enda kusabikia hata team sababu sasa COVID-19 imefunga kila kitu. Sasa weekend inakuwa refu, saa zingine tunaona tu hata tufanye namna gani to keep distance wenye serikali imesema. Hii mambo inaweza kuwa tuki-maintain hivyo tu itaisha.
Kwa saa hii wakati ukifika weekend tulikuwa tunafanya sana kwenda kuona ball. Hatuwezi enda watch ball at the same time games haziendi.
And finally, sports unrelated, the national government has placed Mandera in a partial lockdown as part of measures to stem the spread of COVID-19. However, the move has not been welcomed by all, especially those seeing the direct loss to their business and not quite the possible gains in fighting the disease as yet. Residents of Mandera, particularly matatus and buses that used to ferry passengers to Moyale, Wajir and other parts of the northern counties, are saying that the move will affect their livelihood if there's no alternative that is going to be given.
The once busy Moyale Takaba stage is empty. Buses to Wajir, Garissa and Nairobi all packed. Perhaps an indication that they have heeded the state order, stopping movement into and out of Mandera by air or road for the next now 20 days. The drivers who usually ply the Mandera-Moyale highway will be the most affected.
Tukatai mambo ya serikali, ugonjwa iko na tunakubali kufuata masharti ya serikali, lakini shida ile iko tunataka iangaliwe pia sisi pia maslahi yetu. Ukusema sasa magari zisitoke tukae.
They will not be the only one affected. There is a ripple effect to other businesses that rely on the traffic along this route.
Watu wa gari matatu yote wanauzia chakula na biscuit kila yote na maji. Sasa saa hii hakuna kazi.
Sasa sisi tunataka serikali gari aende sub county.
The Northeastern Regional Commissioner Nekomas Ndalana has given a stern warning to people breaking the Mandera cessation of movement order effected on Wednesday, saying the county has a small population and the pandemic could spread fast if not checked.
Tukicheza hii kitu itasambaa kila mali. Kwa hivyo hii si mzaa anymore. Hii ni lazima tuichukue serious kabisa na tukomeshe watu kutoka na kuingia.
Ndalana said the security agents in the region will erect roadblocks at Takaba on the Moyale entry, an exit point and Kutulo along the Wajir highway, as well as entry point to Somalia and Ethiopia. The movement restriction comes after 8 people in Mandera County tested positive for the coronavirus, with the country recording 330 positive cases. Ahmed Abdi, NTV, Mandera.
Well, from that story, and this is just to inform those perhaps who from tomorrow would want to use the Narok Maimahiu route. The Kenya National Highways Authorities released a statement on the heavy rains that have been pounding the country, cutting off some of the major roads, and they're temporarily closing the Narok-Mai Mahiu road due to the washout. And they're saying that due to the ongoing heavy rains, approaches to the Siyapei Bridge, which is approximately 17 kilometers from Narok towards Mai Mahiu, have been severely undermined by floodwaters, and this is posing a danger to motorists. So the affected bridge, which is next to Masai Mara Technical Training Institute, accordingly, KENHA intends to close the road, and they're going to be working on restoration works from tonight. And the motorists who are planning to use that route are advised to seek alternative routes as they undertake those restoration works, which will continue for the next couple of days as they work expeditiously to restore traffic on that very, very important section. Well, that does it for NTV tonight. My name is Dennis Okari, and our sign language interpreter has been David Agondoa. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Good night.